to have them. I mean, I think they're even up on the web somewhere. So.
Okay. To some extent, what you did was almost like a symbolic act, as well as actually initiating charges, which actually is it's not the kind of thing that most people usually take it upon themselves to do. So it's quite a valiant David and Goliath action there. But it was symbolic and it was encouraging to a lot of people. Do you feel that people have responded to you in that way?
Well, I think, there's been, as you pointed out, a growing recognition that this really is a threat. And there's solid evidence that this is a threat. And this is something that I tried to lay out in the charges to explain the empirical evidence for my views. So people can read through it and see why I've reached these conclusions. So can the FBI agents, so can the police and so on. On the other hand, there's no denying it, these structures are extremely corrupt, and if no investigation is initiated, no case file numbers are assigned, it becomes increasingly clear over time that we, the people, cannot rely on these so-called police and law enforcement branches to do their job and to protect us against a threat. And this is what's becoming increasingly clear, is that they're not doing their job. That the evidence is handed to them. They're not, arresting the people they should be arresting. They're not stopping the whole infrastructure for this mass vaccination program in spite of the dangers. So at this point, people are realizing that the justice system, the law enforcement system, has nothing more to do with justice and law enforcement, and that it needs to be rebuilt and reconstituted. And indeed, our entire societies need to be reconstituted on the basis of law and order, justice, the Constitution, if we are to have any hope of a future.
Just before we went on camera here, we were talking a little bit about the UFO phenomenon, which is something that you don't even pretend to know anything about, and there's no reason why you should. It's a different area. And you asked me whether I believed in that kind of information, and of course the answer is that we do, because we've extensively researched it. But there are parallels here, that whichever line of investigation one follows in these alternative areas, whether it's alternative health, cancer cures, free energy, the suppression of all kinds of information and government activities that have been taking place for longer than you and I have been here, you find that there is obstruction in the organisation of our governance and our military and our intelligence services. You'll find that the citizens, if you try to ask questions, you just don't get anywhere. You have to be very dogged. And then there are all kinds of psychological operations that are mounted against anyone who dares to stand up against Goliath in the way that you have done.
Certainly true. I mean, I was aware of my working within the mainstream media that it is systematically controlled by a central group who have economic interests with oil and renewable energy or whatever, or suppressing renewable energy. But what was new to me was the insight into the extent to which the alternative media also seems to be controlled. And when I tried to do what I could do, which was file these charges, publicize these charges, I found myself attacked and accused of having not filed the charges, of not existing, of all kinds of lies. And the people who did it, I knew they were lying because they had the emails in their possession which showed that I'd filed, at least with the FBI, I'd done my bit. I can't be responsible for what the FBI does. So it became clear to me then that these people were actually trying to obstruct justice and obstruct the discovery and action against this program, and that they probably had been put in the alternative media long ago to direct people's attention away from the legislation which allows mass forced vaccination programs. Most people I've spoken to have never heard of it. They have no idea about the international health regulations and about the national pandemic plans that allow this. Somebody I know even wrote to the Austrian Health Ministry recently and inquired about this and was told by I think a lawyer or a senior official that there was no way Austrians can be forced to take this vaccination. But this official obviously hasn't read the national pandemic plan and doesn't know about the international health regulations, which make it absolutely crystal clear that Austrians, in the event of pandemic level 6 emergency declaration, actually have to follow the orders of the World Health Organization. And the World Health Organization can force people to take vaccinations and also to go into quarantine. So the extent of the ignorance of people about this vital legislation has astonished me. In fact, I didn't know about it till I did the research. And you would have thought that the alternative media would have been telling people about this for years, and informing them about this danger. But it seems they haven't been. It's a big knowledge gap here that has to be filled.
There's a lot of items on the interest and agenda list of the alternative media, and to some degree, like any media, they react to what the big story is right now. But they have reacted, and there is a groundswell of awareness and understanding, which does seem to be reaching places that it hadn't reached a little while before. So something's definitely moving here, isn't it?
Absolutely. The way I see it, in spite of the obstacles, in spite of all these obstructions, the word has got out with phenomenal, unbelievable speed, which I would never have believed was possible in a million years. It's just been a miraculous kind of almost inexplicable form of communication, to my mind, which has taken place,
If we see this as a game, and I don't use that word in a trivial sense, if you see this as a game, how is the game set up now? What do you think the moves in the game are likely to be? Are the citizens of the world starting to wake up more than was anticipated? What's likely to be the response? Can you think the way that they, whoever they is, how are they thinking, and what might they do?
Well, I believe that the speed of the awakening has taken these people by surprise and is making them extremely nervous and worried. And they have put in place this plan for the collapse of the economy, in parallel or in synchronization, this mass vaccination program, which is designed to kill or injure a large number of people. Then I think they have plans for famines and wars and various other things, and for moving countries under the control of the World Health Organization and the UN, which indeed would be the result of this pandemic declaration of one world government. I don't believe that they are very flexible and can see any way to back down now. So I think they're pressing ahead. They're even accelerating their efforts to get this vaccine into the population by stealth and secrecy. I think they're going to try and trigger a pandemic by whatever means they can in the next few days, weeks. They're going to be putting it up in schools, as well as injecting it into people. There was an incident in a Swiss train where vials of so-called swine flu that was supposed to be being transported to the National Flu Centre exploded on a Swiss train.
Was that avian flu? Or
swine flu, that was swine flu, yes, in April. Mm-hmm. So we have some glimpse of the methods that they're willing to use to spread disease. A very, very curious incident why it was being transported on the train at all. And by accelerating this pandemic, by making it ever more virulent, they hope to panic people into taking the vaccine, which will make it truly disastrous and justify forced mass vaccinations. And I think they hope that the hierarchical structures and the habit of obedience will be sufficient in the panic and confusion that ensues to see them through this. That's what I think they hope and believe.